Hey guys, how's it going? Coach Tyson from Ox Strength. And आजको topic चाहिँ के अरे? के हो topic? How to squat 300 kgs. How to be a successful squatter. So मेरो story हल्का भन्नु पर्यो नि त. So I think like कुनै पनि कुरा गर्दाखेरि दुई तीनवटा कुराले गर्दाखेरि नै त हुन्छ. First thing is anecdotal हैन. अनि second thing is because of what was I able to achieve it, and third, fourth जहिले हामीले कुरा गरिराख्ने कुरा भनेको चाहिँ प्रोग्रामिङ अनि टेक्निकको बारे हुन्छ अनि सम अफ द मिसकन्सेप्सन्स अफ ट्रेनिङ. सो मेरो एनेक्डोटल एक्सपिरियन्स अनुसारमा चाहिँ लाइक whenever we're squatting, I feel like squat चाहिँ सबभन्दा like it's the lift that requires the most amount of brute force in a lift. अनि muscle mass is, I think, the biggest determining factor if you're a successful squatter or not, because we've seen time and time again deadlift गर्दाखेरि we could get away by being skinny because the leverage is really really good. You're made to sort of like deadlift हैन. अनि bench press गर्दाखेरि पनि दुईटाको बिचको common ground जस्तो हुन्छ के bench चाहिँ, because it definitely requires a lot of muscle mass पनि, but at the same time some people can get away with leverages as well. I think squat गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ it tips to the opposite end of the spectrum where deadlift lies, because leverages यताउतिले help गर्छ, definitely it's a sport of leverage, but then muscle mass अनि being bigger भन्नाले not just body weight wise big, but big for your frame, big legs, big body भयो भने चाहिँ squat is gonna be the most successful. So that's something that we really have to prioritize, rather than trying to fixating on trying to fix a certain type of a technique or like एउटा क्यू गर्ने अथवा squat program गर्नु भन्दाखेरि पनि the real foundation of a good solid squat is always going to be a big lower body and a strong lower body. You would never see a guy with skinny legs squat 300 kgs. It's never going to happen. You might see a skinny guy pull 300, but you would never ever see a skinny guy pull like squat 300. I think the lowest weight people have squatted 300 is like 75, and that is still not very common. 83 upwards ma matrai, like we see quite a lot of not quite a lot, but like त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ हामीले like 300 kg squatters or things also, whereas in terms of deadlift we've even seen like 62, 63, 64 kg guys pulling over 300 kgs. So that's the base of the foundation. So if you're somebody starting out, you don't really have to focus on just programming and technique at the very start, but rather focus on really developing a good pair of legs, your quads, your glutes, hamstrings, and all of those things, which will take you a very long way. So that's the anecdotal experience in my case. And I think for me as well, I always had like a stronger squat in comparison to my bench press and my deadlift, just naturally, because growing up I played a lot of sports, and then my work capacity was already really high, and then legs was something that really would challenge me to train. So I really thrived for that feeling of training hardcore, अनि कुनै अरू body part हरूले त्यो feeling दिँदैन जुन like legs train गर्दा दिन्छ, especially the pure bodybuilding sort of a workout. So मेरो चाहिँ I think त्यो foundation भएको भएर नै like the first year that I squatted, I was already like 200 range ish, like 78, even 80, 85, I don't know, around that 78 to 85 kgs body weight. I was already squatting like well into the 200s, obviously with knee wraps, but then that was the main foundation of training the legs really hard. Third thing, I think in terms of technique, so technically squat ma चाहिँ, I think for me the biggest cue that I would find outside of bracing is finding center of mass. So how well can you balance your squat in your midfoot? So squat गर्दाखेरि midfoot would be where your laces are. Deadlift गर्दा maybe closer to the heels, but then squat गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ around literally your midfoot, like the half part of your feet. So त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ squat लाई कसरी manage गर्ने, and then how can you fight through that complete entire range of motion would be the biggest cue in terms of squatting, because you might brace really hard, you might have like the perfect squat stance, whatever, but then if you cannot maintain the center of mass, you cannot put yourself in the position to fight a squat. So तल जाँदा पनि माथि उभिँदाखेरि पनि if you can find the center of mass, that would be, I think, the biggest technical cue. अब यो technique cue मा सबै कुरा नै इन्भल्भ हुन्छ के. So bracing, your tripod feet, how much you hinge, as to how much you sit onto your knees, how much quads that you use, how wide, how close your stance. I think हामीले अक्स स्ट्रेन्थमा स्क्वाटको भिडियो टन्नै गरेको छ. सो यो सबै गर्दाखेरि पनि you can, like, find and put the pieces of the puzzle together. But then the main thing that we're looking at when it comes to technique is managing the center of mass, and then how can you be in a solid position so that you can move through space freely and then powerfully, and then you feel really, really confident. Because like Ojasko pani squat ma, he really struggles with keeping his upper back in place. So the upper back ko tightness loose bhayera, or like strength or like positioning loose bhayera chai he's tipping forward more into his toes sometimes, or sometimes in case of some of my other lifters, more going back to their heels. So त्यो manage garnu नै is really important when it comes to the squat. So center of mass management in terms of technique. Programming wise, I think the fourth and pretty much the final piece of the puzzle is that squat training, ideally the volume block, you would feel like shit. Because that's you really have to build up your your tolerance of your knees, your hips, your backs, your every single body part in your body. So during the volume block, which is really important when we're setting up the squat. So maybe deadlift gardakheri, especially sumo deadlift, maybe a deep volume block might not really be necessary. In terms of squat, we need that volume from squatting. If you're somebody with poor leverages for the squat, you can still shine in the squat, but then maybe the accessories would be more important for you, because your back cannot handle the load that your legs can probably, right? But somebody who's built to squat, who is of a shorter stature, or like perfectly proportionate body for a squat, and their high bar squat looks like textbook form, right? Maybe just the squatting volume would be really high up, but then overall legs volume really important. And then especially when we're trying to peak, the mistake sometimes could happen is that we take out all of the volume from our accessories that we were doing to maintain हाम्रो squat form भनौं न. त्यो हुनु साथै चाहिँ like squat would just fade away if your hypertrophy outcome is like starting to fade away, because त्यही कुराले स्क्वाट बलले भइरा हुन्छ. त्यो कम्प्लिटली हटाउँदै गएपछि चाहिँ अब अलिअलि त हटाउनु पर्छ, बट इफ यु रिमुभ टु मच अफ इट, hypertrophy is so important in terms of squatting. If you remove the hypertrophy work and just focus on your singles, maybe you could get detrained and not be able to perform to your ability. So keeping in some required volume to at least keep your shape and condition of your legs, that's something that I see commonly programming wise. And I think the final step really comes down to how your mindset is and how your work ethic is, because I think from the bodybuilding community as well, we can really understand like जसको चाहिँ खुट्टा राम्रो हुन्छ उनीहरुको चाहिँ like squat राम्रो भइहाल्छ, but then even they're winning bodybuilding competitions, all of these things. So I think the hardcore mentality, especially in the powerlifting world, is fading away. Like we don't have to train hypertrophy. We're powerlifters, singles मात्रै गर्नुपर्छ, technique. But that hardcore grit, that hardcore work ethic, that hardcore mindset still has to be there, and you have to push your training really hard to grow the squat, because it's not gonna be based on your leverages. So yeah, then if you're a beginner lifter, quit your singles because it's not helping you. Get on to do some more leg work, suffer for a while, and then later enjoy the fruits of your labor. Then squat गर्दाखेरि. And that's how I treat my personal squatting as well. म जहिले पनि pick गरेपछि I always get into a really hardcore, like get in like the worst shape in terms of squatting. भनौं एकदमै deep dark hole मै पठाइदिन्छ कोचले, like just lots of volume, feel like shit, motivation dips down, but then at the end of the day, that's gonna bring up your squat. So I hope this video helps you make some progress, maybe even give you some motivation to train your squat. And then yeah, if you are interested in coaching, if you don't know how to figure out what's the right volume, what's the right dose of hypertrophy, etc., anything related to training, please reach out to us, reach out to Ojas, reach out to us, and then we have some exciting announcement for you guys in the coming days from Ox Strength. So I'll see you in the next one. Until then, be strong. Freestyle off the top.